Welcome to the Midi Quest video tutorial series. In this tutorial we're going to explore the contents of Midi Quest XL's Utilities menu. The menu has a number of items, starting with the Midi Controller window. The Midi Controller window allows you to send standard MIDI messages to any MIDI port on any MIDI channel that you like. At the top there's a virtual MIDI controller, and choose a MIDI port. You can use it to play and you have a full control over all 16 channels. For the MIDI controller, here you're specifying which channel you want to use. Here you choose your MIDI port, and you can set the output velocity for each note. On each channel you can also send any patch change you want by simply selecting the patch you want and clicking on it. Set an aftertouch level for the channel. Set a pitch wheel position for the channel, and you'll notice when you let go of the pitch wheel it automatically snaps back to 0. Select a pressure level for the last note output. Set a pan position for the channel, and then you have one slider that will set controller levels. So you use the drop down box to select the controller that you want to alter, and then you can move the controller and send out control messages on that particular channel. We have the same controls for all 16 channels. Keep in mind that this window is used for all of Midi Quest's auditioning capabilities in the other windows. So as you switch between the editors for your instruments, you will see that the MIDI port and MIDI channel selected in this window automatically change as you cycle through. So if you come back to this window and want to use it manually, you'll have to set the MIDI port and MIDI channel, if you're using the keyboard, as you would like it to be set up. The next option in the Utilities menu is the Sequencer window. Now the Sequencer window allows you to load up to 10 different sequences. To load a sequence, you select the sequence location you'd like to load the sequence, press the load button, you'll get a file selector. You can go in, select the sequence you want to use, and load it into that location. You can press the remove button to remove the currently selected sequence. For each sequence there is a channels dialog, and the channels dialog allows you to map all of the MIDI events on a channel, on that track, to a particular channel. Now by default each track can have any range of MIDI channels, or you can say assign track 1 to output on MIDI channel 2, track 2 to output on MIDI channel 8, however you want to configure it. You also have a port assignments option, so you can map any event on MIDI channel 1 to any particular MIDI output that you want. Now you see for each MIDI channel you can make specific assignments. So for each channel, if you want, you can set a volume level. Now as you move these, you're actually setting levels. These levels can be, of course, overwritten by the information contained within your MIDI file. The left-right slider is pan information, and the M is mute. So if you want just channel 1 to play, you can mute out all of the other tracks, and that's what you'll hear. Now of course this window was created a long time ago in Midi Quest when you couldn't even run two programs in the computer at the same time. Most of you at this point will choose, of course, to play a track or play tracks in your sequencer, and then if you want to do real-time editing in Midi Quest, flip over to Midi Quest, do your editing there, and then you can jump back and stop your sequencer or take it out of loop mode, whatever you want. The remaining controls in this window are start, so you can start the currently selected sequence, stop to stop it, set a tempo, set loop mode, and here you have an indicator of where you are in the track. The next window in the Utilities menu is the Midi Monitor window. Now this is a text-based Midi Monitor window that will give you real-time feedback to incoming Midi events. So if I play the keyboard, you can see all of the events that came up. On the left-hand side, you get time information as your computer perceives it, plus a differential time between when the last event came in and the current event. Here you see the actual hex information that was received by Midi Quest. So that's a node on event. This is aftertouch information, node on, node off, and so on. On the right-hand column, what you get is an actual text explanation of, again, the incoming Midi data. So you have node on, and it's a D7 with a velocity of 81 on Midi channel 1. And you'll get, and here, aftertouch, again, amount, and so on. So for each event that actually comes into or goes out of Midi Quest while this window is open, you'll see it. So here you have pitch wheel data, continuous controller data, patch change data. You've seen node on and node off, and this will also show all of the other different types of Midi data that can arrive. This top area actually shows you the current Midi output ports that are open in the program. And if I go back and open up the Midi Controller window, you'll see that as I generate Midi output, a little Midi icon will flash to show activity. Now the reason for this is that all of the Midi Quest output that is sent to instruments happens in the background, and you can actually develop quite a queue of data. If you ask to send a large bank to an instrument, that could take up to several minutes. So while that's happening, you'll actually see the icon flashing in this window to show you that there's actually Midi activity going on as the data is being sent out to that particular Midi port. In Midi Quest XL, there's also a graphic Midi Monitor window, which shows you essentially just the real-time activity as things are going on. So if I again play some notes, you'll see those. As I move a controller, you can actually see that graphically in real time. Or I need to move this over. There's pitch wheel. There's aftertouch information, and so on. Now you'll get this for each Midi channel for all incoming Midi data. And it allows you to some degree, monitor what's happening. If you've got some strange, unexplained event going on a MIDI line, you could plug the MIDI line into the computer, open up this window, and see what's happening in real time on that particular MIDI channel. or MIDI line. Each of the following three options, the file conversion window, the instrument creator window, and remote, will get their own mini tutorials because they're fairly complex windows, and we'll give them their own section that you can review if you want to look into those areas. The next option is Add to Sonar Cakewalk Toolbar, and all this does is, if you were running Sonar Cakewalk, this puts some Midi Quest information into the registry for Windows, so when you're looking in your Sonar or Cakewalk program, in the Applications menu option that you have in that program, you can start Midi Quest or Midi Quest XL from Cakewalk or Sonar. And the final option is Uninstall Preparation. This dialog allows you to remove information that is stored in the registry that the uninstaller application can't remove. So before you uninstall Midi Quest, if you want to do a really clean uninstall, you can open this up, run it. This will take out registry information that gives the correct icons to all of the different Midi Quest files, and clean that out, and then when you uninstall the program, you won't have references to files which no longer exist. And that's it for the Utilities menu.